Well, hello, what's up? It's episode number 37 of the Chazway podcast, where we stand for three things. First of all, I want you to know that you're worthy of great things. Second of all, I want you to know that I am right here by your side through whatever you have going on in your life, whether it's you're trying to lose weight, gain muscle, gain energy, you just need a friend, you need somebody to talk to, you're struggling with drugs or addiction or food love, a love for food like me, amen, man, I'm telling you what. Or if it's just that you need somebody, just to know somebody's got your back. I got your back, okay? My name is Chaz Foster. I've been doing this podcast for just, 37 weeks now. And it's changed my life in many ways, and I mean that seriously. It's changed my life in a lot of ways. One of them is learning. Secondly is discipline. And thirdly is the new relationships that I've built through this. So I encourage you to do something crazy like a podcast as well. It's episode 37. This one's entitled Parenting. So the title of this, once again, just to recap, podcast 37 is Parenting. If you'll do me a favor and you're watching this, if you'll screenshot, listening, watching, whatever you're doing, screenshot it, tag me on your social media. You got a chance at $25 cash money. If you are listening on iTunes, please make sure you leave a review. 5 stars would be awesome, but you do what's best for you. And let your friends know. Share it. Subscribe. If you're doing the YouTube thing, make sure you push the subscribe button. What do they say? Smash the thumbs up. Whatever it is they say, the YouTube gurus, right? And just help spread the word. Pass along and help build this up for me would mean a ton. So let's get right into it. Parenting. I was thinking recently, so we're kind of in a blended house now. As many of you know, my girlfriend and the love of my life is Anna Martina, and our story is pretty crazy as well. But Anna and I have been together for now over a year, and the reality is Braxton loves Anna, and Anna loves Braxton, and I love Braxton, and I love Anna, and I love them differently. But Braxton didn't necessarily sign up for this, right? And Anna reminded me of that recently. It's like Braxton didn't sign up for me to be in a relationship. Or to have like a bonus mom or whatever you want to call that, right? And so it doesn't mean he loves her any less. It just means it wasn't like he didn't go out and seek this relationship. I did. To be really honest, I feel like God literally, figuratively put Anna and I in each other's lives for a reason. I mean that wholeheartedly. But parenting is different, and then co-parenting is different, and then blended parenting is different. And frankly, if I'm just being honest, parenting on my own is different. I've had full custody of Braxton since 2013. He has a great mom. She just loves and parents differently. And it doesn't mean she's bad. She's not an addict. She's not abusive. She's just not the mom that it's just not the best fit for Braxton. And so he's been with me full time since 2013. And he sees her occasionally. It's not like she's not around. But I do the deal on my own. I have since 2013, financially and in every way, right? And so, that's fine. Like, definitely, if you know me, you know my relationship with my son. There's no regrets. I love it, every ounce of it, every bit of it, everything about it. Most everything. There's some things that make me sad, but it is what it is. But the thing is I was just thinking about parenting in general and how different it is than my era. And really, I don't know. I'm not like a pro at like the Gen X versus Gen Z versus the baby boomers, the boomers. I think Braxton calls me a boomer. Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y. Was there Gen Y? I don't know. Was there a Gen Y? Hey, what's up, Kate? I don't really know. Just tell me all the gens. I don't know. But so I'm 44 years old. I was born in 1977. I know that I look like I'm 21 and freaking supermodel, sexy guy, right? But the thing is life and parenting is different. First of all, here's another reality: is I was raised. I've never had a dad. I never had a stepdad. Never had a dad. Never had a stepdad. I don't have any siblings. And my mom was like my best friend my whole life. Right. And that can create different, like Braxton's like my best friend, and it's so funny because so everybody's life is different. One of the things I've learned over the years to accept is that you only know what you know. And so I've struggled with judgment for years and years and years. And the reality is like, I might judge somebody for this type of lifestyle or this type of personality or this type of, trends or habits. Right. But the reality is, it's only because those people only know what they know. Just like I only know what I know. So some people are like, how's your kid your best friend? That's your son. You should be hard, right? And I'm like, okay, that's really cool because you had a dad and some structure. And like, I'm not looking for an excuse. I'm just keeping it real. Like, my situation was different. I didn't have a dad. My mom's my best friend, so I only know what I know. So here I'm a single dad. When Braxton, however old he was at 13 years, in 2013, like I'm just dealing with the cards I was given. I knew before my son was born, I knew he was going to be a boy, and I knew I would do anything in the world to make sure that he had the best support and love from his dad ever. I didn't know the rest of it. I can't figure it out. I don't know how I was going to co-parent. I don't know how I was going to be as a support school, or how I'd be as far as academics for him, or I didn't know. What I knew is I was going to love him with every ounce of my heart. There was no doubt about that. I knew he was going to be a boy. I knew before I remember the day we were sitting there and we were going to find out the sex of the child. I knew it was a boy. I just knew. You call it crazy, but I knew. And I knew that I was going to love him with every ounce of my heart. I didn't have a dad. I still, if I'm being honest, I still struggle with that. So it's not about me. It's about parenting, and it's about all of you parents. And those of you that are parents, I see my friend Kate. So those of you that are like listening to the podcast, I also am going live with these today. And my friend Kate popped on Facebook Live. Kate Kwashnick, right? I grew up with Kate. I don't know if I could say grew up. That sounds weird. It's like we lived together. We didn't live together, but we went to the same school. We're from a small town, and shout out to Murphy's in Angels Camp, California, Calaveras County, who just sent me a message. Oh, cool. And so, and so, like life was different. We actually grew up in a small town. Kate has a brother, Kyle. I think Kyle's older. And so I only know Kate and grew up with Kate. So let me tell you, like, Kate is a mom, and Kate, I don't know all of her, I'm like totally putting you on blast right now. I don't know your whole scenario. I don't know your whole situation, but what I know is this. I know that you have kids. I know that you support your children. I think you have the 2 boys. One's like 21 and drinking now in Hawaii, right? And then I don't remember Kelly, but, and then everybody that's listening on podcasts, they're like, what the hell is he talking about? I'm talking to my friend Kate, okay? And so, but what I know is that Kate's a good mom. I know that Kate loves her kids. I know that Kate stands strongly and walks in a way that parenting is a priority to her, right? But I also know this. I also 25. He's not 25 years old. Did you type wrong? Tristan's not 25 years old. Is he? But every parent is going to parent differently. And that's because we only know what we know, right? And another thing, like just to throw it in, like let me just give you an example. So like my girlfriend, so she, let's see, how do I explain this? Okay, so like, again, not to like put her business on blast, but like Anna, so she's got a mom and a dad and a stepdad and a stepmom. She's got brothers and sisters and stepsisters. So imagine all those dynamics. So again, you only know what you know. So like life and parenting was different. So let me move on. I just want to like use those examples of the reality that you only know what you know. And so we're only equipped. God equips us with the tools to the best of to use to the best of our ability to do the parenting thing. But here's the thing, like Kate and I grew up, I'm using her as an example because we were, grew up in school together. Like it was a whole different world. We didn't have, let me see if I can, my phone's ringing. Decline. Bye. And so somebody that's watching on my live has just sent me a photo. So who knows what that photo is going to be. Me being crazy. But anyways, and so we grew up in a different era. We actually grew up in a smaller town population. Murphy's, California is like 2,700 people when I was growing up. On Wednesdays, we used to, in the winter, they didn't have school. As long as your academics were like a C average or above, I think. On Wednesdays during the winter, the school bus would come to the school. You'd bring your ski equipment to school or snowboard, whatever, and you would pack up the bay of the bus underneath, right? And we'd pack up the school bus as long as we had permission slip signed. I think you had to bring like $10 or $20, maybe $20. That'd be your lift ticket and lunch, maybe, I think. And we'd go skiing on Wednesdays. Well, Braxton didn't grow up skiing. He's not going to, right? For just that example, a lot of schools don't get off on Wednesdays to take the kids skiing at the ski resort. And frankly, if I'm just keeping shit real, a lot of people don't even get on a bus. And there's a lot of kids, if you want to like go to real like present time because of COVID, aren't even in school. And some kids never got to start pre-K in school. And some kids didn't get to graduate their senior year in a school. Yeah, friends, life's different. Parenting's different. The world is different. Now, let me give you some examples of that. I just set all that up for you. It took 10 minutes to do that. But here's the thing. It's different. The rules are maybe the same in some areas, but the scenarios can be different, right? And so, like, Braxton's bedtime. He's 14. He's 15 years old. Just turned 15 in August. Like, his bedtime situation, oh, thanks, Alicia. And so, like, his bedtime situation is different. Like, first of all, Braxton's homeschooled. Second of all, the rule is, like, you get your schoolwork done before you go mess around. But, like, he can stay up. Like, last night, I'm sure it was midnight when he went to sleep. I went to sleep at probably 11:20, 11:30. And I know, like, he knew he could finish. He was watching a video. His phone's up. He watches a video. And then at 9:20, he walked in this morning. I DJ 3 nights a week. My schedule is very flexible. Well, I mean, that's my only committed schedule. Other than that, I just live my life, right? Make podcasts 3 weeks late. But anyways, and so, like, now somebody could be watching me like, oh my gosh, absolutely not. Listen, my son's homeschooled, and my son, he is up at 7 a.m. every single day, sometimes 6:45, right? He knows he has to have his alarm set, and he better be asleep before 10 o'clock, and there will be no devices, no television, no nothing after 8. Hey, that's awesome. That's what you know. That's the way you choose to do it. It's just a different scenario. I work from home, other than the 3 nights a week that I'm DJing. And my son's homeschooled, and I work nights those 3 days that I do work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I do work nights, and so I don't have a problem with him staying up a little bit later. I never have, even when I owned several nutrition clubs, and we were up at 5:45 every single day. We'd go to bed at 10 or 11, and as long as he was up and took care of his responsibilities, that was what matters. Now, I'm not letting him stay up all night. I'm not letting him watch horror movies. I'm not letting him do drugs. Like, it's just different, right? The scenarios are sometimes different. It's a different world. It's a different scenario for everybody. I hope if this resonates with you, man, give me some feedback for sure. Give me some feedback. So, here's another thing. I wrote in my notes, what are kids doing after midnight? So if my son's up at 3 a.m. scrolling YouTube and I've been asleep for 4 hours, I may be positive. I'm allowing that. I might be setting up some inappropriate potential, right? Maybe it's sexual stuff. Maybe it's horror movies. Maybe it's just ugly stuff, right? So the only thing I can do is police that and make sure that he knows the boundaries and right. And so I'm just saying, like, sometimes after midnight, you know, also as a parent, I think we need to use our discretion. If later on in the night things are happening, or potentially, like, does anything? I always say to Braxton, like, nothing good happens after dark outside with your friends in a parking lot. Like, he's 15, he's got some buddies that are 16, 17, and like they're into cars, and so he's like, can I go to these car meets? And I finally let him go to one car meet, and he got home on time, everything was great, he was home by 8:30, and he's like, oh my gosh, this girl got body slammed by another car. I was like, yep, that's why you don't go to car meets. What do you mean, Dad? I'm like, well, because nothing good happens after dark with a whole bunch of people in a parking lot. Like your example, like these two girls get in a fight. Like, I'm not going to keep him from the real world, but I do have discretion on what a good place to set him up. It's probably not the best. I'm not handing him the best scenario to say, yeah, go with your buddies. And the next thing you know, they're doing donuts. And he hasn't done this, but he could. Next thing you know, they're doing donuts. They go to this car meet. Somebody wants to race. Somebody dies. Somebody gets hurt. All the things could happen. I am not going to set him up for that. The reality is those things can happen because life happens, and I'm not in charge of the big picture, right? But I am in charge of making sure I equip him the best way I can, and sometimes I fail. Okay? Being stuck on devices. We didn't have devices. I started to talk about my friend Kate and I. We grew up in a little town called Murphy's, California. I don't know why I got stuck on the whole ski trips. I remember 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I think we went on these ski trips. Maybe it was 5th grade, whatever. But, like, we didn't have devices back then. I remember, we probably had Nintendo, maybe Sega, but, like, people weren't, like, living on their devices. I don't think that was a thing. I don't remember ever knowing anybody that was, like, at that age called. I don't even think we had the term gamer back then. And we were outside a lot more. Like, let's not even talk about COVID. Let's just say if we went from 2000 and like the 80s and 90s to the 2000, 2010, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? Even if we just like if we take out the COVID shit, it's still a reality. Like gaming has been huge over the last 10 or 15 years. Social media has been huge over the last 10 years, maybe longer. I just did an episode on comparison. I think a lot of that comes from social media. And so, yeah, we didn't have devices when we were younger. So we probably chose to be outside more. I was into dirt bikes. I was a little bit into football. I was into hanging out with my buddies. We'd go tubing in the river, right? Yeah, and so Kate's like, well, I didn't even have cable. I feel like I went through spouts of cable and not cable. It was, growing up with a single mom, there was times where it was like you couldn't afford it. There was other times where it was like it was trash. I don't have cable now, but the reality is you have Hulu and Netflix and Disney and Peacock, and you have all the things. So reality, hey, Dale Shipley, hope you're doing well. So the reality is you have all those tools, today. But again, yeah, I mean, I'm with Kate. Like back then, there was very common to not have cable. And the funny thing is, like, if you didn't have cable, you found a VHS movie that you might have, or literally, I'm keeping it real. Like I remember literally making, like, if it was in the budget, we could maybe go to the movie store and pick out one or two movies. And like, remember this, you guys, on VHS, Be Kind, Rewind. Like you had to make sure you rewound the movie before you took it back the next day, and you don't dare take it back late because that was an extra $1. Like it was a different world. And so, would you agree that your children live in a different world today? They absolutely live in a different world because parenting is just different. It's just different. Kids aren't outside nearly as much. And again, I'm not even like, let's not even open the COVID door. Let's just talk about in general. You take back to this era, this generation, my 15-year-old son era. I don't know, Dad only let us pick out the 99-cent movies. That was my mom too. My mom, we'd go to restaurants, and I swear this is jaded me. Mom, I love you when you listen to this. I love you. But my mom, I wasn't allowed to order soda. Now, back then I don't drink really soda now, very, very seldom. But we drink diet soda. That's just what I drink. I know people are like, gross diet. But that's what I drank. If I drank soda, it was Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, whatever. For the record, I don't like Diet Pepsi now. But as soda drinkers, we would maybe have soda at home, but if we went to a restaurant, my mom would not order a soda, nor could I order a soda because it was a waste of money. It was just funny, just a different world we lived in back there, right? Or back then. And so not being outside, again, let's exit the COVID thought, because right now we start thinking COVID stuff, right? But the reality is, like, a lot of kids aren't outside. There's a lot to do inside. There is Hulu, there is Peacock, there is Netflix, there is gaming, right? There are inside things that people want to do, and they're not outside. Generally speaking, I don't think kids are outside as much. I'm blessed. I'm so blessed. My son loves the outdoors. Loves the outdoors, and I'm so thankful because I don't. Like, I was always outside because I don't, like, I'm not a gamer, and I wasn't a binger on, like, TV shows and stuff. I probably binge watch things way more now than I did when I was younger. Yeah. And then also social skills are different, I think. I think that if I'm being real, this might offend somebody, but I think socially, back in the day, I think we I don't know if that's a fair statement. I just think that there's a lot of people that don't teach their kids social skills. I can't tell you how many people I know that when I meet their young boy or girl child and I introduce myself, that the kid might cower and like turn or get shy, and the mom or dad just kind of smiles instead of saying, "Hey, this is Chaz," or "Hey, they asked you how you're doing," right? And like not even teaching your kids to acknowledge when a human speaks to them, whether it's, never mind the adult and the respect for an adult, but I mean, I bet 60% of the time that I meet somebody young, or a parent with a young person, and I introduce myself in their or when Braxton, maybe even as a kid, might say, "Hey, how's it going?" and they just cower and they don't teach them. And when Braxton was taught young, again, this doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. It just means it's what we know. Braxton was taught to have a nice firm handshake. Hey, Amy, hope you're great. To have a nice firm handshake. What's up, Braxton? And to look them in the eyes and with respect say hello and shake their hand. That was just kind of the way that I raised him, because that was important to me. It still is very important to me. But here's the deal. Is like, if you're not teaching your 5, 6, 7-year-old kid to do that, then let's say they go into homeschool, your kid may never have social skills. Like, they may become a gamer, and if I'm offending somebody, it is what it is. But it's real talk. Like, if you don't teach your children young to respectfully address others, then there's a very, very good chance as they grow older, even sometimes into adulthood, they're not going to have those social skills. I remember when we decided to take Braxton into homeschooling, and my first thought was like, homeschooled kids a lot of times miss that social aspect. I'm like, okay, I taught Braxton how to be social when he was young. That's if you know my son, you know that is not a problem, right? He is as social could be, and that's the way it is. And when I was just thinking about teaching him that, I was thinking another thing. So Braxton, since he could walk, if I wasn't carrying him into a store, he was walking holding my hand. And the reason is because first of all, I was a volunteer fireman when I was young, and I saw some things happen, some accidents, some kids' injuries, and even deaths that I would never wish anybody to see. And a lot of times those kind of things were avoidable. And I hate to say that, but it's true. It can be avoidable. And sometimes it's just a matter of not letting your kids run around in a parking lot. And so Braxton knew, he would say this it's kind of like a seatbelt. If I could tell you right now, if he walked outside and got in a car, his seatbelt will be on before mine. It's because since he was old enough to put on a seatbelt or to wear a seatbelt, since he was basically in a car and he was buckled in, that's what you do. That's what happens. And you're setting those fundamental things at that time because those are important. And they're important now. Hi, Diane. Those things are important today as well, right? And so Braxton knew to hold my hand walking through parking lots. And it happened forever and ever and ever, all the way probably, if I'm being honest, I don't know what Braxton would say, but I would think all the way probably till he was maybe 10 or 11. And then at that point, it was just, he would know to stick right next to me. And then it's never been an issue. We lived when he was young. The house he lived in was in a really nice, up until he was like 9, I think, is when we moved out of this neighborhood. But he lived his whole life in this neighborhood we lived in. Very nice neighborhood. We lived 3 houses down from the stop sign. So the good news is cars were slowing down by then. But where we lived, there was no sidewalk. So if we were outside, it'd be in the driveway, or he could obviously the parent would be out there, right? But he could either it was funny. Our side of the street didn't have big driveways, but across the street they had long driveways. The way the neighborhood was set up, so if we knew your neighbor across the street, he could ride across, maybe ride his bicycle, ride across, or rollerblades, or skateboard, or scooter, or whatever. And he'd go, and then he maybe would play in their driveway, or ride around, or do his little hot dog in their driveway, and then make his way back across. But the deal was he couldn't be in the street, and if he was ever in the street, just playing and not looking, then he was done. If you dart out in that street and I don't see you look left and right, you're done riding for the day. And it might have sounded strict, but it's a lot better than burying a 3-year-old because they got hit by a car. I know that's heavy, but it's real talk, And so again, it's just different. And so I think you set those fundamental things. I hope that helps some parents that are listening with some young people. Just do those little small disciplines when they're young, because it will hold on to them potentially forever. And the last thing I want to talk about today is grace. Let's start giving young people more grace. Let's think about the fact that they are in a different world. Let's now talk for a second about COVID and the season of life that we're in. Do you know that there's young people who are only going to know wearing, they're literally, I was talking earlier about, young people, because of COVID, preschoolers didn't get to go to preschool. Some seniors didn't get to graduate high school. COVID screwed a lot of people up. And I don't take it lightly. I'm not going to get into my views on COVID, but I'm going to say it's screwed with a lot of people. A lot of people. And can we just give grace to young people? Can we give grace? Can we realize that life's not super simple? Television's dirty. Television's dark. Television talks about bad things. It talks about drugs. It shows sexual stuff. Can we just give a little grace? Can we love a little bit harder? Can we realize they're not perfect? Can you find the good things in the young people and not point out the bad? Can we teach through the struggles and love and support through the positive? Can we just do a better job of that? Because I don't think we do a great job of it. I think generally speaking, it's not. I don't think it's done well enough. Here's the deal. Life's too short. Pick your battles. Love your kids stronger. Love your kids differently. Parenting's not easy. I just gave a lot of examples of how I was raised versus today's generation, how I was raised versus how you were raised, how some of today's generations is parented different than maybe I parent. Let me be clear. I am not here to tell you my parenting way is the right way. Not a chance in the world. I don't know that there's a right or wrong. I'm only doing the best that I can do. I love strong. My son knows Jesus. My son knows right from wrong. My son knows respect. And all I can hope is that he just chooses to make choices that make me proud, make Jesus proud, and make him proud as he walks into adulthood in the next few years. But let's just give more grace. Let's love stronger. Let's love harder. Let's love more sincerely. And let's just make parenting just take just a hair more serious. And then let's help our friends do the same thing. Like if you don't have kids, if you're co-parenting as a bonus parent or as a step parent or as a girlfriend or boyfriend, just give grace. Like I promise. I know I use this example all the time. I'm gonna use it again, and I don't know if my friend will ever hear this message. But I've used this example for probably 10 years. Well, actually, I've used this example since I had a son 15 years ago. So my best friend on this earth is a guy named Dave, and Dave has they're both older than my son, but he had 2 little kids. I didn't have any kids when they're a couple years older. So like when Dave had let's say a 3 or 4 year old boy and maybe a 1-year-old daughter, right? And I remember the way that he and his then wife would parent. Like it was weird to me. It was like a little soft. It was like a little I don't know. It wasn't like I was judgy of it, if I'm being honest. And like, who am I to judge it, right? But I'm just being honest with you. I was judgy. And then I remember, like, I'll never forget this. I tell Braxton this story all the time. I remember when I don't think it was Dave. I believe it was his wife. I think we were all out together somewhere, and what doesn't matter whether it was Dave or his then wife, but they asked the boy who was a couple years older, like, hey, where do you want to eat? Like, it was drive-through food, right? He was like, hey, where do you want to eat? And he said, let's call it Taco Bell. And he said, okay. They said, okay, Brianna, what do you want to eat? And she said, I don't want Taco Bell. Don't quote me, right? But it was basically like she didn't want that. She wanted, let's call it Burger King. I don't remember the restaurants. It doesn't matter. It was just basically, my point is it was something different. And so they went to Taco Bell for the kid, and they went to Burger King for the girl. For the girl, they went to Taco Bell. For the boy, they went to Taco Bell. For the girl, they went to Burger King. And I don't know, but I don't feel like the parents didn't want either. And so I don't remember if they went to a third restaurant or if they just settled. But that's what we do sometimes as parents, right? We just sacrifice, no problem. But I thought that was the silliest thing. Why would you go to 2 different places? Like, as a parent, you would pick where you're going to go, and that's the option they're going to have. But the reality is, then I had a son, and I love my son. And of course, if we're all out running around, or if it's Sunday after church, and I want Chinese, but Braxton doesn't like Chinese, and Anna wants steak, like, we might have to meet in the middle somewhere. We might have to figure it out. But the reality is, yeah, even through my son's all his years. Excuse me. Even through all his years, I would sometimes ask him. I still do it to this day. What sounds good? I may want Taco Bell, and he may want Burger King, and so we may just go to Burger King. And that's just because I love my kid, and that's how I choose to parent. So, again, it's easy to judge from the outside. And then again, if just to recap, if you're not a parent or if you don't have a child, it's really easy to say what I said. Why would you let them choose? Why would you take them from one place to another? Well, because I can, because we're parents, because it's what we do. It's what we can do. We can do whatever we want. And so, just give grace. Give grace to parents. Give grace to children. Parenting's different. This is episode number 37 of the Chazway Podcast. You are worthy of great things. God loves you so much. Just remember this. You're created with purpose, on purpose. There is a reason you're here today. And you're worthy of absolutely amazing, amazing things. I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. Do me a favor, take a screenshot, share it out to some friends. Make sure you leave a review. Follow and subscribe on Instagram and on YouTube and all the places, and on iTunes and on the podcast app. And we'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Episode 37 is in the books. Parenting.